So a new Lord of the Rings MMORPG is on its way from Amazon Game Studios. Now, if you remember correctly, the Embracer Group bought all of the Lord of the Rings merchandising, game rights, everything else from Middle-earth Enterprises last year in a multi-billion-dollar deal. We covered that here. That was part of Saul Zaentz eventually, selling things off after all the years of holding on to that. And this actually follows in the wake of Amazon having a previously in development MMO with Lord of the Rings that was part of a deal with Tencent, which was canceled a few years back. So this is all news. It's pretty exciting. We're going to read through this press release, dig in a little bit deeper, and find out more information about this. As many of you know, I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings Online. I think it's a great MMORPG. I don't know where this game is headed quite yet because I haven't read the press release, so we're going to be diving into that right now. I know the previous game that Amazon was developing with Tencent and that other company was geared towards the Second Age and was supposed to be going on with conjunction of the Rings of Power. Now that got canceled because Tencent and them couldn't come to an agreement on residuals and stuff, but let's see what this new one is about. It says here a new game created in partnership with Embracer Group will be set in Middle Earth and features stories of The Hobbit and more. It says here Amazon Games and Embracer Group, through its wholly owned subsidiary Middle Earth Enterprises, part of the operative group Freemode, announced today they have reached an agreement for Amazon Games to develop and publish a new massively multiplayer online game based on the works of J.R.R. Tolkien. The upcoming game will be an open world MMO adventure in a persistent world set in Middle Earth featuring the beloved stories of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings literary trilogy. Okay, that's interesting. So the Lord of the Rings Online doesn't really have a lot to do with The Hobbit. It's definitely set firmly in the Lord of the Rings timeline. So I'm genuinely curious what's going on here because, as far as I'm aware, the Lord of the Rings Online with Standing Stone Games, they still have their license and everything else going forth. So where is this game set in the timeline? Because it sounds like it's set during the same timeline, although it also says The Hobbit. Very interesting. The game is in the early stages of production with the Amazon Games Orange County studio, who are the makers of the popular open world MMO game New World, are leading development. Amazon Games will publish the game globally for PC and consoles. Additional details will be shared at a later date. So we're a long way away from launch. We're also a long way from knowing anything more about this game because if they're just now getting into pre-production, I mean, we're 4 or 5 years away at a minimum from anything solid about this. So it's an interesting development, but yeah, we're not going to know any juicy details until much later. Um, Christopher Hartman, Vice President of Amazon Games, said, "We're committed to bringing players high quality games, whether through original IPs or long beloved ones like Lord of the Rings. Bringing players a fresh take on The Lord of the Rings has long been an aspiration for our team, and we're honored and grateful that Middle Earth Enterprises is entrusting us with this iconic world. We're also pleased to be expanding our relationship with Embracer Group following our Tomb Raider deal last year, as they've proven to be excellent collaborators." The world of Middle Earth continues to prove an endlessly fertile ground for creators, and Amazon Games has a passion for building immersive, compelling worlds and publishing games for a global audience, said Lee Guinchard, CEO of Freemode. "We have the clear ambition to create the highest quality entertainment products for this IP, whether we utilize internal resources or team up with the best industry partners that complement our capabilities. We're taking every care to deliver an MMO which will do justice to the expansive Middle-earth universe and delight players around the world. The as of yet untitled game continues Amazon Games' growing momentum in game publishing and development, following last success its internally developed New World game and action RPG Lost Ark, both of which have topped Steam and Twitch charts at various points in time. They've had dips and valleys. Amazon has also announced publishing agreements with NC Soft for Throne and Liberty, which is an upcoming game that I'm a little intrigued by. Blue Protocol, Crystal Dynamics for the next Tomb Raider game, and Glow made a Disruptive Games for unannounced titles. Hey everyone, Renfail here with the commercial part of the video where I say, hey, if you like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. And thanks to all of our supporters here on YouTube and over on Patreon, our highest members, our guild champions, Crazy Relative, Remy D here on YouTube. And don't forget, if you want to support, it's really easy. You can do the memberships below, the Adventurers Guild, 3 different tiers. There's also the super thanks on any uploaded video or YouTube short that you find. mind. There's also, of course, the super chats and stickers that you could do on any live stream or premiere, and the Patreon page if you want to dive into the fantasy world that I have with my brother and my wife, which is a tabletop game, a point and click adventure game, and a fantasy book series. All are great ways to keep this channel going and me going full time. Thanks again for those of you who support. Let's get back to the video that you're watching now. Separately, obviously they're doing Rings of Power, which is mentioned here. So we don't know yet. I'm intrigued by the terminology here. An open world MMO adventure in a persistent world. Now that terminology is very different than what the Lord of the Rings Online MMO that's been around since like whatever 2007 or however long it's been out. That's a lot different than what that has. They're describing something that is more like, I mean, if they're looking at developing something along the lines of what they did with New World as an example, um, that's definitely persistent world, open world RPG with multiplayer components. I mean, they could theoretically do something in the same vein without treading on the rights to the MMORPG market that Lord of the Rings Online already has. I'd be interested to see if Standing Stones Games is going to make any sort of announcement in the coming days as a result of this. I know previously when the announcement was made about the other game that was coming in the pipeline when Amazon Games was partnered up with the Tencent and that other development company, Standing Stones Games made an announcement and was like, hey, don't worry about it. That game is set during the second age. Our game is set during the third age. Completely different timelines. So it's completely different in terms of the people you're going to see and the characters you're going to interact with because our game has, Gandalf and Aragorn and, Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin, all those characters. Whereas the second age game is thousands of years before ours and has completely different characters and timelines. So I don't know if that's going to be the case because they literally are saying here that it's going to be an MMO set during the timeline of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. I'm going to see if anybody else has more information here. Let's go to the Verge, or excuse me, Polygon. We already looked at the Verge one. I did, and it didn't have any more juicy information. Um, I think everybody's just reading the same news release that I just read. It says here that it's coming to PC and consoles. I'll be playing it on console, that's for sure. Dun, 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 dun. Amazon, okay. Ooh, Amazon's launching a TV show and movie based on Tomb Raider. Oh, along with the new game. That's cool. Lord of the Rings Online launched in 2007. It's still in operation, never reached a big audience, etc. They don't mention anything more than what this article already says. Let's go to VentureBeat really quick. I'm just scanning these really quick. Persistent World featuring this one says something slightly different. It's featuring the beloved stories of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings literary trilogy. So that could mean a lot of different things. Yeah. So I guess we just don't know what this is going to hold for the worlds of Middle Earth that already exist, like the Lord of the Rings Online. I would be genuinely interested because since this specifically mentions The Hobbit, um, and that's something that the Lord of the Rings Online doesn't do, is the story of The Hobbit. That makes me genuinely curious about where they're going to go with this new game. But I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued. So I'll be following this. I, of course, will play it whenever it comes out because I'm a huge fan of all things Lord of the Rings. I will play every Lord of the Rings game that ever launches, including mobile titles. If you haven't checked it out, I just launched my initial review on Heroes of Middle Earth, which just launched a couple of days ago from Capital Games and Electronic Arts. It's very fun. I'm notorious for any type, if it's Star Wars or Lord of the Rings or Star Trek, I'm going to play it because I love these franchises. So I don't really care what type of game it is, but I am genuinely curious as a gamer to know how this is going to go into the space that's already occupied by, say, Lord of the Rings Online, and whether that game is going to continue or if this means the end of that game. We just don't know yet. So, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. See you in the next video, everybody. Until then, stay safe. Happy gaming.